Hey everyone, it's really great to see you today. So there's been a lot of buzz lately, and I know many of you have been asking the same question over and over. What's really going on with this $2,000 tariff rebate check idea? And most importantly, is it actually happening before Christmas? Honestly, I completely get why this is on everyone's mind. Money is tight for so many families right now. Prices for groceries, gas, utilities, they feel like they're rising every single week. And then you hear the president talking about checks, tariffs, and dividend-like payments, and it's natural to wonder, is something real actually coming? Especially during the holiday season when financial pressures are at their peak. Here's the first thing most people don't realize. President Trump himself has already commented on the timing of these checks, and what he said has surprised a lot of people. But beyond timing, there's also the critical matter of how much tariff revenue has actually collected so far and whether it's enough to cover $2,000 checks for millions of Americans. So stick with me because the story is a little more complicated and a lot more interesting than what you're seeing on social media. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you, if a check like this actually came, what's the first thing you would use it for? Would it be groceries, bills, maybe just a little breathing room? Share it in the comments below. I love hearing your stories, and other viewers do too. Now, let's talk about the $2,000 check itself. Many people are calling it a tariff dividend. Here's why. The money for these checks isn't coming from your paycheck or extra taxes on Americans. Instead, it would come from tariffs on imported goods, taxes on items coming into the U.S. from other countries. This idea isn't brand new. President Trump has discussed it repeatedly, even during his campaign. The concept is simple in theory. The government collects money from tariffs, and rather than just putting it toward general spending or the national debt, a portion could be distributed directly to middle-income Americans in the form of a $2,000 check. But here's where things get confusing. Over the last few weeks, there have been tons of posts, headlines, and videos all claiming checks coming before Christmas or IRS preparing payments. You might see those and think, okay, maybe something changed. The truth? There is no bill, no legislation, no IRS program currently in place that allows any $2,000 check to go out in 2025. The IRS has even made public statements confirming they aren't sending out any new payments because there is no law authorizing them. And Trump himself confirmed this just a few days ago. When asked whether checks would come this year, he said, no, not this year, next year sometime. And when he said next year, he wasn't even referring to early 2026. He suggested it could be mid-year or even later, possibly time to line up before the 2026 midterms. Naturally, when a president hints at benefits in an election year, people notice, and it raises questions about whether this is a short-term plan or a long-range promise. Let's get into the numbers because this is where a lot of people are surprised. Tariff revenue for 2025 has totaled around $195 billion. That sounds huge at first glance, right? But now let's compare it to the cost of the $2,000 check. If the plan is to give $2,000 to every adult making under $100,000 per year, that would include roughly 150 million people. Doing the math, the total cost comes out to around $300 billion, and that's just adults. Add children or dependents, and the number climbs even higher. So here's the big question. Where would the extra money come from? Would the checks be smaller than $2,000? Or would the government have to borrow the remaining funds? These are all issues the administration would need to solve before any payments could be issued. Another question on everyone's mind is, of course, who exactly would qualify for these $2,000 tariff rebate checks? President Trump has indicated that the payments would focus on middle-income and moderate-income Americans, but that description is extremely broad and can mean very different things depending on where you live, your family situation, and your overall financial obligations. For example, someone earning $100,000 a year in Mississippi might have a very different standard of living compared to someone earning the same in California, where housing, taxes, and cost of living expenses are far higher. Traditionally, government programs like this use specific thresholds to determine eligibility, often around $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 for married couples. But in this case, no official numbers or income limits have been confirmed yet, leaving a lot of room for speculation. That means any figures you see floating around online are just educated guesses at best. Until Congress or the IRS issues clear guidance, no one can say For sure, who would be included, and many families who think they might qualify could either be included or excluded once the official rules are published. This uncertainty is why it's so important to stay updated on official announcements rather than relying on rumors or social media speculation. And now let's address the big question. Would these checks help or hurt the economy? Supporters argue families need help. Prices are still high, wages haven't kept up, and $2,000 could give working Americans some breathing room. That's very real. Most people have felt the impact of rising costs over the last few years, and even a one-time $2,000 boost would make a difference. But there are valid concerns too. Remember the pandemic stimulus checks? When large amounts of money went into the economy all at once, it contributed to faster inflation. And if a $2,000 tariff rebate were issued suddenly, inflation could spike again, which would particularly hurt seniors and fixed-income households. Some economists also warn about stagflation, slow economic growth, higher unemployment, and rising prices all at the same time. A big one-time check could temporarily help families, but after the money is spent, the underlying economic pressures remain. Another major factor to consider is the complexity of the government setup required to actually issue these checks. Even if President Trump's team were to draft and submit a complete bill tomorrow, it would still face a lengthy and uncertain process in Congress, which is currently highly divided along partisan lines, making swift approval extremely unlikely. Once a bill is passed, the IRS would then need months of preparation to establish clear eligibility rules, verify income thresholds, coordinate with banks, and build the technical infrastructure to ensure payments can be processed accurately and securely, all while minimizing errors, delays, or fraud. This isn't something that can happen instantly. It's far from flipping a switch. That's why we can say with confidence that no $2,000 tariff rebate checks will be released before Christmas 2025, a timeline that President Trump himself has acknowledged. On top of that, there are serious considerations regarding the national debt and overall government finances. Issuing these checks would increase the federal deficit unless funds are already set aside, and since the tariff revenue collected so far does not fully cover the projected cost of distributing $2,000 to millions of eligible Americans, analysts caution that the math simply doesn't add up yet. This combination of legislative hurdles, logistical challenges, and financial constraints makes it clear that while the idea of a Christmas rebate check is compelling, the reality of implementing it is far more complicated and delayed than many might hope. So what does this all mean for everyday Americans? If the $2,000 tariff rebate check were to be approved and issued in 2026, it could provide a substantial lifeline for millions of families across the country, offering much-needed relief for everyday financial pressures that have only grown over the past few years. While it certainly won't fix every money-related problem, it could act as a critical cushion during the holidays, helping people cover essentials like groceries, utility bills, gas, and household expenses while also giving some breathing room for extra costs such as gifts, travel, and holiday gatherings. This is exactly why so many rumors and discussions have been spreading online. People are hopeful, eager for help, and naturally looking for any sign that assistance might be coming, especially in a season when financial strain feels most acute. And this is where your voice matters. If you could speak directly to the president about this idea, what would you say? Would you urge him to accelerate the process, ensure seniors and low-income households are prioritized, provide extra support for working parents, or advise caution regarding potential inflation risks? Everyone's perspective is important, whether you've received government checks before or not, and sharing your thoughts helps paint a clearer picture of what Americans truly need. Here's the clear and unvarnished truth. At this moment, there is no $2,000 stimulus or tariff rebate check officially approved. The IRS does not have a schedule in place. There will be no December payments, and there won't be any pre-Christmas deposits hitting bank accounts. Any notion that checks could arrive this year is purely speculative. The earliest that any distribution could realistically happen is sometime in 2026, and even that is conditional. Congress would first need to pass the necessary legislation, and all of the financial logistics would have to be carefully calculated to ensure the program is sustainable. This means there is still a considerable amount of planning, debate, and bureaucratic preparation that must occur before any checks can be released to the public. That said, there is still reason for cautious optimism. President Trump has continued to speak publicly about the possibility of sending money directly to Americans, emphasizing that tariffs do generate revenue that could be used for such payments. While the program isn't ready to launch, the idea has not been abandoned and remains very much on the table. Meanwhile, for seniors and those navigating Medicare plans, there are ways to save money and gain support during this period of uncertainty. We've partnered with Chapter, a trusted service that connects you with licensed Medicare advisors, compares every plan available in your area, and helps you potentially save around $1,100 annually. Their team provides ongoing guidance, ensuring you're supported long after enrollment. To reach them, call 615-639-1937 or visit Ask Chapter. Org Dark Money using the link in the comments below. So here's the deal. Stay informed, stay patient, but most importantly, stay ready. Relief could come in different forms, and we're committed to tracking every official update together. No rumors, no guesswork, just straight facts. Before you go, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now. The moment the IRS or the government confirms any payment details, you'll be the very first to know. Don't miss out. Be ahead of everyone else. Thank you for being here today. Your attention matters and you're truly appreciated. Let's stay on top of this together. This video is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. The $2,000 tariff rebate check or any government payment discussed is not guaranteed and is subject to legislation, IRS rules, and other official approvals. Always consult official sources or a licensed professional before making financial decisions.